Ming China, which spanned from 1368 to 1644, was known as a Gunpowder Empire. And in this video, Kyle and I will tell you all the interesting facts about it.
Covering part of modern-day Russia, Vietnam, and China, the Ming Dynasty was pretty large for its time. It covered about 6.5 million square kilometers, and to put that in perspective, it's about 2/3 the size of the United States.
Displayed here is the map of the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty had a capital city and other major cities. To the north, near the Yellow River, is Shuntianfu, or modern-day Beijing. To the east, along the Yangtze River, is Shentianfu, which is modern-day Zhongjiang, and Yingtianfu, which is modern-day Nanjing.
The tan portion of the map represents the area of China under the Ming Dynasty. The black dotted line demonstrates the border of modern-day China, and the bold boxy black line represents the Great Wall of China. The Ming Dynasty's military structure was similar to those in Europe. The army was split into different units, which consisted of specialized and ordinary soldiers. Unlike Europe, these positions in the military were inherited, which allowed them to easily replace casualties with family members. The Ming infantry consisted of 112 men. 40% carried spears, 20% carried shields and swords, and the last 40% had long-range weapons, just like this bow and arrow. With this military, China was able to conquer Vietnam during the Ming Fall War. Although this military was successful, it had some drawbacks. One drawback is that it could not respond swiftly to instantaneous attacks. This lagging response was partly due to it being bureaucratic.
In the Ming Dynasty, economic success was varied. The Ming Dynasty introduced the paper currency, but soon after, hyperinflation occurred, which crashed the economy. Due to this, the Ming Dynasty reintroduced silver coins, but soon after that, the raids on Spain and Portugal decreased the amount of silver in China, resulting in another economic crash. Trade flourished in the Ming Dynasty despite the bans, with the creation of bridges, canals, and roads. These trade routes expanded the influence and borders of the Ming Dynasty. Another staple in the Ming economy was the introduction of cash crops. These cash crops included rice, fruit, and tea. Plantations and agricultural fields were created to meet the demand of these cash crops. These cash crops were spread all over the Ming Dynasty, including rural areas, increasing the reliance of these crops throughout the entire empire. Taxes on agriculture were also decreased to 3.3% and then down to 1.5%, allowing for easier production of these crops and to make more money.
Shown here is a picture of the silver coins used in Ming China, created with silver imported from Spain and Portugal. There is also a picture of the paper currency that was created. This painting, titled Tea Time by Chen Hongshuo, was painted during the Ming Dynasty. It depicts upper-class citizens drinking tea, an important cash crop during the Ming Dynasty. Religion played a key role during the Ming Dynasty. It gave emperors the right to rule through the mandate of heaven and changed the way people thought. The dominant religions during this time were Taoism, also known as Taoism, and Buddhism. Taoism emphasized humility, while Buddhism emphasized the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths, and the Three Universal Truths. Christianity also traveled to China during this time period through trade routes and Jesuit missionaries. All these religions are still practiced today. Ming Dynasty China's social class is split up into 4 categories: the Shi, Nong, Gong, and Shang. The Shi were the upper-class people and were represented by wealth and education. The Nong were farmers who supplied the whole China with food. The Gong were artisans who created the goods for the people, and the Shang were traders and merchants who delivered the goods to the people.
After the Red Turban Rebellion, Zhu Yuanzong, leader of the rebellion, overthrew the Yuan dynasty and established the Ming Dynasty. Each Chinese dynasty followed the same basic institutional system. There was the central government, the nominal heads, and the ministries. In the central government, there was the emperor, who led all, the Grand Secretariat, which assisted the emperor, and the 6 ministries, which were personnel, revenue, rights, war, justice, and public works. There was also the censorate, which surveyed and assessed the imperial officers and investigated government misconduct and corruption. In the nominal heads, there were the 3 dukes, the Grand Mentor, the Grand Preceptor, and the Grand Guardian. However, these positions were often empty. The ministries were led by directors, who were directly controlled by the emperor. These positions were housed in the Forbidden City, a massive palace with architecture unparalleled by any other palace at the time. Due to the empowerment of the government, absolute monarchy was established. Absolute monarchy allowed the government to completely control the common people since they were empowered.
Like the Song Dynasty, the Ming Dynasty's philosophy was focused on Confucianism. This philosophy was brought back to the Ming Dynasty to help eliminate government corruption, which is a major theme during this time period. The downfall of the Ming Dynasty was caused by a number of different factors, including economic and natural disasters. During the end of the Ming Dynasty, there were attacks and raids on Portugal and Spain, which led to a decrease in silver trade to China. Famines caused by cold and dry weather thoroughly decreased the population and reduced the amount of cash crops. This was later known as a large ecological time period known as the Little Ice Age. Lots of pandemics occurred that also reduced the population.
The Manchu, an ethnic minority in the Ming Dynasty, revolted against the empire, writing the 7 grievances which declared war against the empire. At the same time, a man named Li Zicheng stirred up a revolt in the soldier and peasant population, weakening the government and the army. While this was going on, the current emperor, Chongzhen, hanged himself in the imperial garden in the Forbidden City, the government headquarters at the time. After the emperor hanged himself, Li Zicheng and his ragtag army of peasants and soldiers overtook the empire, trying to establish the Shun dynasty, but were then killed by the Manchu, who overtook the empire, actually, that time, and established the Qing dynasty.
此燕夫。
雪花飘飘，北风萧萧。